So I'm sure many of you have heard that the Azusa 13, which is a gang here in Southern California, has been arrested. 51 members of this gang of 400 have been arrested under the RICO law. And I'll just read to you a piece of the article that was written. This is by the OI Times, which is now owned by LA Times. And it says 13 arrested as DEA busts Azusa gang members. In a law enforcement action Tuesday morning that targeted the Barrio Azusa 13 street gang, 16 people were arrested pursuant to a federal indictment that alleges violations of the federal racketeering statute and a nearly 20-year conspiracy to violate the civil rights of African Americans in the city of Azusa. Last week, a federal grand jury returned a 24-count indictment that charges a total of 51 defendants with a host of crimes, including conspiracy to violate the Racket-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which is the RICO law, and conspiracy to violate the civil rights of African Americans. Now, if you guys remember, the RICO law was also used to break up the mafia, the Italian mafia in New York, and it worked successfully for the most part. So now they're using the same law to break up the Mexican gangs here in Southern California. Let me go on with the story. While prior federal cases targeting street gangs have included allegations of race-based violence, the case against the Azusa 13 gang marks only the second time in history that federal civil rights laws have been used against members of a criminal street gang. Nearly 2 decades ago, the Azusa 13 adopted a racist principle that members of the gang will harass and use violence to drive African Americans out of the city of Azusa and would use violence in order to prevent African Americans from moving into the city, according to the indictment. And my question becomes, who the fuck are you to try and drive away black people out of a city that they helped build, that their ancestors helped build? Who the F are you? We built this fucking country here. We built it. Our ancestors built it. With the blood and sweat of our ancestors is where you now reside. And you have the nerve, you have the balls to say that we don't belong here. No, you don't belong here. You go back to fucking Mexico. You go back to South America. You go back to where the fuck you came from. Because remember, we were brought here by boat. We didn't come here illegally. Our ancestors were brought here by boat. 6 of the defendants are charged in the civil rights conspiracy, which alleges a series of incidents in which African Americans were harassed through racist graffiti and subjected to attacks that included beatings and robberies. The racist incidents alleged in the indictment span a period from 1992 until May 2010, when an African American high school student was beaten as he walked home from school. So you aren't even safe to walk home from school as a non-gang member. You are not safe around these animals, around these mongrel savages who have no respect for life and they have no respect for the law. You know, but I guess it passed down from their illegal bitch mothers who came over here and popped them out. And then we have a law and use our law against us, actually. The 14th Amendment was used to their benefit. Although I don't understand how that's at all possible. I don't understand how it's at all possible that an illegal can come over here and pop out a few babies and all of a sudden now they're welcome here. They're allowed here. When that 14th Amendment was made, was created, was enacted, it was enacted on behalf of African Americans that were brought here, and then once slavery was abolished, they were told to go the fuck back to Africa. Well, how the fuck are we, and by then they were talking to the descendants of the Africans. They weren't even talking to the slaves, because by then 200 years of slavery had already passed. So they were talking to the descendants of Africans and telling them, go back to Africa. Well, good goddamn it, we didn't need this amendment, because by nature we should have been allowed the same rights as any European that was here. We never should have needed that law, because we were already here. We were already here legally as the descendants of Africans that were brought here against their will. You want to talk about illegal? Kidnapping is illegal. No, we didn't need a law. We didn't need a law that gave us the permission. It states that if a person on American soil has a child, then that child is considered a citizen. And the reason why they did that is because African Americans in this country were not even considered citizens. That's why that law was created. It was not created for illegal immigrants coming over into this country and popping out babies. It was not created for that at all. And I think that they should not be able to use that as a loophole to stay in this country. And that goes for any illegal. I don't care where you come from. But especially those that come from Mexico and South America. Because they are infesting this country. And it's sickening. The article goes on to say that the Azusa 13 gang waged a campaign of hate during a 20-year crime spree in which African Americans were harassed and attacked, said the United States Attorney Andre Birati, Jr. We hope that this federal case will signal the end of this racist behavior and will help vindicate all of the victims who have suffered over the years. Bullshit. And by the way, Andre Birati, this nigga, he has an Italian name, but it's actually a black guy. No. You know what you need to do? You need to deport all of their asses. You need to get them out of this country, and you need to not allow them to be able to come back in here. You know the minimum that they will have to serve under the RICO law for these type of crimes is 10 years? 10 years in a federal prison. 10 years of luxury. 10 years of not having to pay rent. 10 years of not having to pay utilities. 10 years of not having to do anything illegal, which, you know, they don't have to go out and make money anymore. They don't have the stress of that. You know, and we pay for that. You and I pay for that. And we don't even want them here. I know I don't. I don't want them here. Why should I have to pay for them to now be in a federal prison being taken care of? Meanwhile, they're responsible for killing my people. No, I want them dead. I want them sent home in body bags. Sent back to fucking Mexico or wherever the fuck they come from in body bags. That's what I want to see. Not them laying up in Club Fed being taken care of. That's bullshit. And why did it take 20 years? Why did it take 20 years for them to finally stop this madness? You know why? Because it wasn't white people being attacked. There were no white people being killed. White people weren't being shook down. 20 fucking years. You have to wonder what the hell is going on in the United States Justice Courts, that they would feel like 20 years they need to let this shit keep going. Were they waiting for a race war? Is that what they were waiting on? For all of a sudden the black people to say, you know what, I've had enough and I'm tired of this and nobody's taking care of us, nobody's watching out for us, so you know what, we're going to watch out for ourselves. We're going to start taking the law into our own hands. Is that what they were waiting for? I wonder. But you know what I also wonder? I wonder why the blacks didn't take the law into their own hands. I wonder why they didn't protect themselves. Because in all honesty, I would be protecting myself. If I know that I'm living in an area where I'm being targeted, and by the way, I do live in an area like that. And believe me, every time I walk out my fucking door, I got something for their ass. Every time. There's not a minute, a second that I will walk out my door ever and not be protected. Not have something to protect myself. And you know what? I don't need a piece of paper. I don't need a constitutional amendment to tell me that I have the right to protect myself. No, I have the right to protect myself, period.